Hey, what's up, everybody? Gio here, Giocast, new episode. It's been a while, but I promised myself I wasn't just gonna do episodes to do episodes. Just if there was nothing really to share, talk about. I wasn't gonna try to make something up or just create some random content. But yeah, it's been a while since the last one, and I had just the most incredible week at Rhythmia. And going into the week or just leading up to it, from the last time I was there in November, I had this big aha to where my big blocks were, and super focused on creating something and making that the thing. It's like what I'm creating versus trying to figure out how to do marketing better and you know partnerships and comparison, all that stuff. So you can listen to that episode if you want to hear that. But so I've been getting clear in the first part of this year, already February, so halfway through Q1, almost through Q1. And going into this week, I realized, I started loading my plate with a lot of stuff. So I'm working on a book, a breathwork book. I'm trying to put together a TED Talk this year. Things are going well for both companies. We're scaling and growing, and we have a bunch of new trainings at Elemental Rhythm for breathwork, like a deeper coaching training, and we're up-leveling our educator training. We're building a new app, so it's a lot. On top of that, I got some other opportunities and trying to redo the YouTube. So it's kind of feeling like, okay, I'm stacking my plate again. Like this is not exactly where I want to be, is feeling this like, oh my God, there's so much to do, not enough time. And so on this trip specifically, I invited two really good friends of mine. One is Sachin Patel. If you've been on our website, he's the guy who does the Science with Sachin. I met him at a Wim Hof experience years ago. And it was interesting because at that one Wim Hof experience, I met like four people for the first time that become very good friends in my life. One was Dan Dattatreya, he's a yogi. Another one was Sydney Albert Johnson. We call him the Wizard. And Sachin, there's a few other people that were there that they became really good friends. And my newer friend, Freddie, Sleeveless Freddie Sounds, we call him. He's got great pipes, both his arms and his lungs. So, and he has soul expansion, and coming on this trip, just asking about their intentions. Freddie does this live visual experience in Toronto. If you're in Toronto, you should check it out. There's one coming up where there's like projection mapping on the walls, like a 9-piece band and music, singing, and he's an artist. But the business side of that's kind of hard. I think he's like really trying to figure out how to take it to the next level. And a lot of times it's not the talent, it's the inner stuff, like I shared. Like, and I think he's trying to find his courage in his heart. He reminds me of the lion, which we'll come back to that story later. You got Sachin on the other hand, who's the opposite. And I didn't think about this before inviting them, but super smart, super intellectual, was a chiropractor, became a functional medicine practitioner. He trains people how to do that, like really successful. Um, Indian background. He's into like Hindu philosophy and Vedic philosophy. So he's taught me a lot there. I've learned a lot from both these guys. But he's like kind of robotic in a sense. Like the way he walks, he has trouble crossing his legs. He's trying to work on that. And so you have these contrasts of these two guys. And as we get there, you right away, like he does digestive health and stuff like that. And we have our first meal together, and like I'm already done, and this guy's on his second fork. He's like looking at me. He's like, "Man, you gotta chew your food." And he talks about how like chewing is so important as part of digestion. It gets the enzymes going and the saliva and all these things. And so I'm like, okay, like I gotta. My wife tells me all the time, I gotta slow down when I eat. It comes from growing up as a kid. Three boys. You got a whole pot of pasta, and who's gonna get the second serving is the one who finished the first plate, and or the extra chicken cutlet or whatever it is. You got to eat, and you got to eat quick in those situations. It would be funny. Growing up, we'd get like a box of passion flakies, and we knew there's two each, so we had to make sure we got our two and hid them, because you can't trust leaving an extra passion flaky in the box because it'll be gone in 24 hours. Or and I don't eat these things anymore, like passion flakies and like Nutella. A Nutella jar would last maybe 3 days. So when it's there, we're all making sure we're making a triple decker, pounding the Nutella to make sure we at least get our fix in. So we're in Costa Rica, And we start seeing like not actual sloths, but like sloth stickers, sloth posters, sloth dolls, and it all becomes a funny thing. It's like a reminder for me to slow down. Even like as we're leaving our condo, we see a sloth on the screensaver, like just staring at us, and we start laughing about it. And it was my friend Blake's birthday. His birthday is actually on Valentine's Day, so we went a couple of days early. And yeah, we just had a couple of awesome days hanging out, going to the beach, getting to kind of really connect with each other, playing music. Met up with Blake, who we have a property together up in Austin now, and he's building an awesome recording studio, which is kind of under construction now. So we got to go hang out and check out that. And the last time I was in Costa Rica, I was thinking about partnerships and stuff like that. Pachamama had reached out to me. They're an eco village that a group of kind of, I guess you'd call them like Israeli spiritual seekers back in maybe the 90s were following Osho, and they went to India, living like that Rajneesh lifestyle, do all the Osho stuff. And then they decided to buy a bunch of property in Costa Rica and start this intentional community. And that's been happening for like 30 years. So this amazing infrastructure. It's in the jungle. It's sustainable eco living. And so I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna go and check it out, as a potential place to run a retreat, because a lot of people in our community have been asking for like, breathwork retreats and deeper kind of dives. And so I ended up going there, and my friend Sydney just happens to be there that exact week. So I call him, we meet up, and um, we have this joke about like all these crazy things that happen in life. When you really start looking at the patterns, it's like, wow, like in order for me to get to like where I am now, like all of these things had to happen, like these little synchronicities that led to this next thing. And it's like, what are the chances? I mean, this joke, it's like, yeah, the actual probability is probably like 1 in a billion, but the actual chance is 100% because it had to happen this way. It's 100%. So there's a 100% joke going on now. And so we go and we check it out, and like again, this vision of like an incredible retreat. And it just so happened that Freddie and Sachin were there, and Sachin is into breath work. He does talks on breath work. Like breath work changed both their lives, changed my life too. And anyone that becomes a facilitator changes their life. And it's so funny that we all meet and have this meeting just then and there. It's like, oh, maybe we should do this together. Maybe we should do like a collaborative event in the jungle to get people out of the matrix, out of the box cities and the electrification and the stress, and just come and like in decompress in the jungle for a week. And so we're there checking it out and drinking cacao, and Freddie's got his cowboy boots on in the jungle. It's just like this hilarious and amazing kind of like vision experience of what can we create here. And we end up going to meet my teacher Mitra, who I've shared about in this podcast, because I wanted to introduce the boys to him because both of their first time drinking ayahuasca. And so we go and we sit with Mitra and just have this beautiful deep conversation about life, about plant medicine, about these guys asking questions about how to surrender and how to kind of come to the medicine. And we leave there and make our way up to rythmia. And so if you're thinking about joining a retreat, reach out to me, because there's going to be one coming up. Just as long as you're following along, there'll be definitely details to come as when that's happening. So we get to rythmia, and I do the first breath work, and everything's amazing. And I find out this week that there is, I want to make sure I say this carefully, just because I want to respect people's privacy, but there's an elite athlete. So in his sport, professionally, it's a sport that I love. He's probably in the 0.01% of like the top elite. And I find out that he's there. I also find out there's a music star who's got a number one hit, maybe multiple number one hits there as well. There's a celebrity there who's done many like shows that were very popular. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a really interesting week. And they all come to breathwork, and I get to meet them. And going into the second day, I'm not really clear on what my intention was this week, because I usually wait for like the last week to nail down my intention. And so I get to ceremony, and just so happens I'm sitting right beside this professional athlete, and we're just talking, and I remember watching the Aaron Rodgers Netflix documentary a few months earlier, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to meet this guy one day. I'd love to kind of meet some of these professional athletes. And I'm thinking, like, here I am meeting this top athlete, and I really go into it with the intention day one is like just to really kind of just slow things down and connect with that sloth energy. But I'm taken aback by being in awe of being beside someone who has done these incredible things that I've watched on TV. And it almost felt like being a boy again, sitting beside like a superhero and having this incredible inspiration. Like I had kind of lost that. Like I have a few people I look up to nowadays that inspire me. But this was on a whole nother level, bringing me back and just being in that awe, just visualizing them and training and almost like myself imagining like being in that state of being that like top 1% of your field, and the dedication, the work it takes to get there. And so I'm super excited about that. The night's up and down, purging, going through some of my stuff, and um I start having this shoulder pain because it happens sometimes when I get really dehydrated. It brings me back to this memory of being a child and just messing around at a hockey rink and hanging upside down off of a pole, and I fall and I like smash my head and hurt my shoulder, and like it was bringing me back to feeling that shame and guilt, lying to my dad, not wanting to tell him what happened, afraid I was going to get in trouble, and like this fear of kind of like really kind of going out there and doing crazy stuff. And it was like, okay, why is this coming up? What's the lesson here? It's like, well, you have to heal this part of you so that you can slow down. Like slow down. All of a sudden, like the pain intensifies, and I have this vision of my arms getting longer, and they're like getting these sharp pains. And all of a sudden, I realize like I'm transforming into a sloth in this experience. And all of a sudden, my friend Shane, who's an amazing musician at Rhythmia, and the music there is like off the hook, the greatest music ever. He's like, Gio, come for a healing. So I go up and he's giving me a healing. And it felt like it took me forever to get there. He made a comment about like, yeah, I know sometimes it's hard on the medicine. I realized like in that moment, time was slowing down for me. And as he's doing the healing with his feather, like I feel myself transforming into a sloth. And they have these three intentions there. It's like, show me who I've become, merge me back with my soul at all costs, and heal my heart. And in this moment, I felt this soul merger, that I was embodying the frequency of the sloth or something like that. That's probably the best way I can explain it. So I'm moving super slow, and I'm just seeing like how when you slow time down, you can be super present. But also the sloth is really important that they're intentional. Every movement they make is intentional. Because if you move slow, if you make a mistake, it takes a lot more longer to correct that. And it was a teaching of like, be slow, be intentional, be clear, do things right, do them once and do them well. And I was like, okay. I can see times in my life where I want to rush things, get them done, just do it. And it's not about being a perfectionist. It was more about the intention behind it, getting clear on your intention and then doing it. And so that was like the essence of night one. And for the rest of the week, I've been focusing on eating down, eating slower, and all of these things. And I'm thinking about getting a sloth tattoo on my finger to remind me when I'm eating. And it's funny because my friend Sachin ended up buying a sloth doll for me in the Rythmia gift shop, and it's in my kitchen. So on top of the cabinet. So when I'm eating, it's like staring at me because I need reminders. And so night two, I go a little bit deeper. I go into my heart, and I remember in my intentions, I'm drawing this like doodling on my journal, and I end up doodling this rose for some reason. And like I have this rose water that I have with me as part of like one of the like lotions I have. This is natural rose water, and for some reason I can't stand the smell of rose. It reminds me growing up of like my grandmother's bathroom hand soap or cheap air freshener, and I have it, but I don't really use it. Like the whole thing was like pretty much full for the last almost year. Like maybe once or twice I've dabbed a little bit, and so that night, again, it was a little bit of challenging night. Ended up like going into my heart and really kind of just connecting with this frequency of like love and connection and expansion, and still in awe of all the people that are there, the people I'm meeting. And I got to share one of my favorite books with this athlete called The Way to Love by Anthony DeMello. And just realizing like these people are just normal people too. They're gifted and they're special in their own way, but we all have our own gifts and specialties. And it was amazing to know that I could share something with them, and they were asking questions about plant medicine and tips. And I just was like trying not to be like fanboy. I'm like, oh my god, but also feeling like I was being of value to someone that was a huge inspiration to me. And so that felt like really amazing. And going to third night, I was like, okay, like, can I borrow that book? I just wanted to read a passage. It's like reading a chapter. In this book, you can read any chapter in any order. So I always just flip to a random one. And the chapter was titled "No Looking Back." Do I have a copy here somewhere? Maybe I can read it out loud. I usually have one lying around. Doesn't look like it, but the gist of it is, oh, there it is. I got one right here. See, I knew there'd be one lying around somewhere. This is the book that I gift the most to like people. It's pocket size. You can take it anywhere. The Way to Love, Anthony DeMello. So I'll just read the first part of it. Here it is. No Looking Back. This was so interesting. The synchronicity, 100% again. So no looking back. No one puts his hand to the plow and looks back. No one who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. Luke 9:6-2. I'll just read the first part. God's kingdom is love. What does it mean to love? It means to be sensitive to life, to things, to persons, to feel for everything and everyone, to exclusion of nothing and no one. For exclusion can only be achieved through hardening of oneself, through closing one's doors. And the moment there is hardening, sensitivity dies. Okay, and it goes on, and it talks about the rose, which was interesting. And it talks about how, the rose, can I find it here? It talks a bit about how the rose, it doesn't care about what anyone thinks. The rose is just there and it grows, and it's there for the bees and the birds if anyone wants to smell it, and if not, like, doesn't care, like, doesn't really matter. And it's about this thing of like moving forward and not looking back. Okay. I can't find the rose part about it. So anyways, so I'm thinking about this, and I go up to my and I go up to drink the cup, and I set my intention, and I'm like, yeah, I want to connect with the rose. Go back, lie down, fall asleep, and just have this deep sleep, which was kind of unusual. So it's kind of like a weird night starting off. And I get up, and I'm not really feeling nauseous, like a little bit, and I'm not having visions, which is also a little bit strange. And they call for the second cup, so I go up, I get a second cup. And I go back, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, what's going on, what I should do. And, maybe I'll go out and check out the hammock. So I go to the hammock, and I'm kind of like, I don't know. And I realized later, like, I was feeling so uncomfortable that I was like, well, first off, the first 2 hours, like the seed being planted of the rose, and I had to go and sleep and rest and conserve my energy. And now I was growing in this like dry Costa Rican, unfertile, sandy kind of soil, and it felt like there was thorns in my back. I was just so uncomfortable. And I look up and I saw the stars, and I'm like, okay, maybe tonight I'm going to connect with the Pleiadians. Like, what's this night all about? Okay, maybe I just need one more drink, and that'll help me to take it to the next level. So I go back in. I think I purge, maybe take another drink, or maybe I haven't purged yet. I'm just like struggling, and I'm feeling nauseous, but I'm like, okay, like I need to kind of break through this feeling. Grab another drink, go back out, sit under the stars, and I'm like, okay, Pleiadians. And if you listen to my podcast, check out the ones on Pleiadians. There's some wild stories about this connection that I have to the Pleiades star system. Okay, maybe now's the night. And Jerry talks about his story, how he traveled to the moon, and he flew there and had this experience that healed his heart, changed his life. So okay, if Jerry can do it, I can do it. You know, like if he can fly to the moon, I can fly to the Pleiades star system. You know, it's only 444 light years away. Let's make this happen. And I'm like trying and I'm focusing. And I'm like, come on, ayahuasca, help me out here. Like, I'm like, just talk to me, communicate, say something. I'm even speaking out loud, you know, like really trying to make this thing happen. All of a sudden I hear a mosquito come in like in my ear and I slap it and I kill it. I'm like, oh, damn it. Was that you? Did I just kill you? You sent a messenger? I'm like, okay, Gio, you're retarded. Just like go back inside and let's kind of like change up the scenery here. So I go back inside and the live band's playing now, and I love the live music there. And they're playing, and it's intense, and I'm like getting drawn off my mat to the music, and I'm kind of like rolling around the floor, like dancing a little bit, and waves of sickness. I run back to my mat, can't puke, pull me back, and back and forth, and all of a sudden in this chaos, I get this vision of the structure that's controlling humanity that is very AI based. And you know, there's a lot of theories about this, and you know, you've watched the Matrix and how the elites, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, the people who kind of control the systems of the world, the financial, the energy systems, the monetary systems, banking, they use AI. And they have all these predicting models that are super advanced, supercomputers that try to tell them what to do with predictability, right? Like what are the probabilities, you know, like to get to 100%. And I'm just like reminded of this conversation I had also at Rhythmia months, maybe a year ago, with someone who's in the medicine team, talking about this Buddhist philosophy of the great calamity, and how that when humanity loses its way and gets so out of touch with nature that there can be this great calamity where like end times, like volcanoes and earthquakes and tsunamis, and it's like this reset to come back into nature. And it's almost like once it gets too far, that there's no turning back. And the medicine was saying how like the AI is gonna has the potential to take us there because it has no emotional intelligence. It's all transactional, control based domination, like almost like a parasite or something that's consuming its host. But in the darkest moment there, it was like there is like a weak point, the Achilles heel, like that chink in the belly of the beast, or that can break the armor of the beast, or something like that. I can't remember how it said it to me. It can't predict a shift in consciousness from the mind to the heart. And that's the hope that we have. In that moment, I'm seeing these celebrities, these athletes, you know, not only there that week, but Aaron Rodgers and Kelly Slater, and you know, even like guys like Wim Hof, and people getting to breath work, and this movement that's happening, that people are waking up and they're fighting for love, and they're fighting for freedom. And it was like telling me that I'm part of this, and so are you. Like, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably part of it too, and everyone there. And it was like getting me to see it in a way that I've already kind of realized this, but in a way that was like, okay, like this is what's happening. You're getting clear on what your mission is, but now you have to commit to it. And again, I realized this after, but it was like the no looking back. Like, are you ready to commit to die for what you believe in love? And I saw my mother and my wife and my daughter and my son and my whole family and my community, and immediately it was just like overwhelming, this feeling of yes, like I would die for love in an instant if I needed to. And once I made that commitment, the purge came that I've been wrestling with all night, and I go to the bucket and I just let it all out. And in that moment, I felt like I released something, and all of a sudden I bloom into the rose. Like I feel like just the petals opened, and I became this rose, ready to kind of just do whatever I need to do and not give a damn about anyone else, which was building on the last one. But now I felt this mission was inspired within me. And so I grabbed the rose water and I take some, and it smelled like the most beautiful thing I'd ever smelled. And I rubbed it all over my body, head to toe, and it just smelled like a rose. And I couldn't believe how much I connected to it. And after that, I just started seeing like this Wizard of Oz story of the new Wizard of Oz has a sloth in it that needs to slow down. It's going to be a remake for a new story that's gonna be like the Wizard of Oz with the AI system as the wizard. And I'm gonna write it out. It's gonna be a kid's story about inspiration and mission and love. Anyways, and I'm watching this week the Tin Man, Sachin, who kind of reminded me on like Tuesday of a Bollywood remake of the Terminator called him Sachinator, where he's like this robot and he's getting triggered by people. It's like trigger alert, eliminate them. Let's like do something. And Freddie, who shared with me that morning that the ayahuasca asked him for a spiritual payment, which was like he was supposed to shave his head. And imagine a lion shaving their mane, you know? And he told me once that the last time he shaved his head, he lost a hockey bet, but after that, his life changed. So it was like this poetic kind of thing. And the beautiful thing about it is I see these two learning from each other. It was telling me, it's like, yeah, like the evolution is going to come from people helping and learning and lifting up each other. That is what's so important. And that's got to be part of your mission. And I was so inspired because I have a community of facilitators that we train that are going out and doing this work, changing people's lives. And so that was that night. And the funny thing about that also is like I usually bring like a shave kit because I shave my head and I forgot to bring it. And Sachin, I found out after, had his, and he used to be a barber. And there was this joke we're going to do a mane cutting ceremony. It didn't happen because I think Freddie was still building up the courage to shave his head because his mom was going to be upset. And he didn't want to freak her out going to ayahuasca, shaving her head, like what's going on. But I think it's going to happen. Maybe he'll get his mom to shave his head. And then Thursday, the Yahe ceremony, which is my favorite, which is so gentle and peaceful and like, incredible as always. And we did our Friday breath work, and I got to play a few songs. And I got Freddie to play with me, and it was just an amazing week. And when I got back, like I've been on fire and really doubling down on my commitment because it was like, okay, like you have a gift, and you know your mission, but it's not like you're just going to show up and it's going to happen. You got to put the work in. And it was showing me how these celebrities, these music stars and athletes, like they have that, but they put the work in. I'm thinking about Tom Brady. He's got the talent, but he works his ass off. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, like they have the gifts, they know what they're supposed to do, but they also have to work their ass off. And I realized I'd been playing small. Like, yeah, I've been going to the gym, but I've been going like a couple times a week, not really pushing myself, and wanting to take some supplements and just doing it here and there. Like when I got back, something shifted within me where waking up 5 a.m., going to F45. Freddie kind of put me on that, and like doing all of the supplements for like cognitive, so like doing like methylation with B vitamins, NAD plus, taking like an elixir with baking soda for like detox, and salt and electrolytes and lemon juice. And so I planned out this whole thing and have like my whole daily routine dialed in, which is these small repeatable tasks for me is not my superpower. It's more like vision, analytics, figuring things out, putting out higher structure. And because like for me to perform at the highest, I gotta invest in myself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And the physical side was a bit lacking. But the more energy you have, the more clear you are. I'm going to do a cycle with methylene blue soon because you can't do it with ayahuasca. It's an interaction. And if you're curious about methylene blue, was a dye that they figured out helps to like magnify light in a microscope, and all of energy is like light and energy. And they realize like how it helps cellular metabolism and all these metabolism and all these crazy things like people using for like cancer and detox and cognitive. So like, that's coming soon too. And I got back, and all the things before that felt like I was stacking on my plate, it's like, no, I'm just gonna crush all these things now, like no problem. And like this week, I like got like triple the amount of stuff that I would usually get done in a week, and my week's busy. It was clearly saying no to things, what I need to say yes, and what the priorities were. And so I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm on my mission, and it's an invitation to you is to get clear. Like, are you part of this mission? To save the world from the great calamity, to be inspired from a place of love rather than fear. And it starts with you changing yourself and starting that inner transformation to get that clarity, to find your mission. You might not know what it is now, but by working on yourself, by making yourself healthier, by doing practices, breath work, meditation, exercise, being in nature, you'll get clearer and clearer. You'll find out what exactly you need to do. Finding the people to surround yourself, to learn from, the environment you put yourself in. And I wrote my first song. And I'm so excited, and I have so many ideas that I'm going to share with you guys as it's coming up. But I have the clear path of like what I need to do now, what's going to be next month, what's the month after, and it feels like I've unlocked the next level. And I'm super grateful to Rhythmia. The place changed my life. You know, when I first went there, I was a very different person. Each time I go back, it gives me more and more gifts. And so, if you're listening to this and you want to come to Rhythmia, you are invited. I'm going to be back in June, again in November. So you can check out the website. And if you're curious about starting with breath work, which I highly recommend, it can be just as powerful, if not more powerful, check out elementalrhythm.com. And if you're not following me on Instagram, at elementalgeo, would love to hear your stories of transformation. So get inspired, find inspiration, connect with your mission, get into your heart, and let's change the world together. Love you. Till next time, Geo.